He's already rocking some ESL Pro Tour points, of course, from his victories in the ESL Open Cup and runner-up positions. Something that Reynor, again, really didn't play in. He already played in some of the larger online events in the off-season.
Yeah, there's always the question of, you know, our players maybe taking it a little bit easier and focusing more on the bigger tournaments here. You know, over here in Katowice is really where a lot of the big bucks are there to be made.
Yeah, absolutely.
Taking first place in a group, you guaranteed top 8 and you guaranteed $10,000. That's already massive. And then after that, the pay jumps are like massive too.
It's actually crazy, right? When you think about how much these events are worth. And that's what's been so surprising almost about Europe, that so many people are playing in these $100 weekly cups in the ESL Open, because ShoWTimE has been there pretty much every single week he could be. The only players that have really been missing from those events are Reynor and Cyril.
Yeah, there's always like two ways to look about it, right? Like if for players that are playing in those, like sure, you might be revealing a little bit more of your strategies and all that, but also you're getting great practice.
Yeah, it's very true.
Like you're training so much, like you're working on your consistency and everything, and like you're getting some fantastic warm-up before the tournament. So if you're a Protoss player like ShoWTimE who loves to play somewhat standards, just rely on your mechanics and, you know, your transitions, your scouting and all that, just you try and be very solid, I think it makes sense for him to play in online tournaments, because even though people see what he's doing, it's not like they're like, okay, well, I can counter what he's doing very easily by doing that and that. No, he's still playing very solid.
Yeah, it's not like he's relying on tricky builds to catch you off guard. That's where he gets his advantages. He gets his advantages from just being really, really good. As we'll see, the first tech structure here soon from ShoWTimE, and it is going to be a Stargate. And he really does love Stargate openers. He is not the guy to go for your Templar Archives, the Archon drops, or anything like that, or the Dark Shrine opening into your Archon drops. He is just going to Stargate. Like I said before the game started, I think Triple Oracle is something on his radar, but also the possibility of going even double Stargate Phoenix, not something he might shy away from in the series.
Yeah, I think what's going to happen here. He saw the Adepts shading inside of the third base. He's like, oh, I've seen this before. Got ready on the natural with the Queens. And he hasn't really taken any drone damage, I think, so far. He's just lost slings, that's it.
It's been a really good defense against something that really has been a bit more committed than your typical Stargate opener. So it's really, really good for Reynor here, because again, like I said, 3 Oracles, that Robo's a little bit later than usual, etc. And Reynor knew about this entire time, because again, there was never anything to shut down that Overlord in the main, as the Lings can't do much across the map, but that doesn't matter. He's just droning away right now, Lair, Rotron, and building up into the mid-game.
Yeah, finally, that Overlord's going to go down almost 6 minutes in here. That took a while. I think that's because ShoWTimE purposely wanted to ignore that to really try and do some damage on the other side of the map. Great control here on the Oracles. Ooh, actually, some of these sentries are going to start... Ooh, well, never mind.
Yeah, no, I was with you. That was bad. But even using 3 force fields there is kind of rough as well. Usually those sentries in a position where like 1 force field keeps them safe. So now they're all pretty low energy with an Immortal out. It definitely takes away some possible pushing potential. One of the popular follow-ups from a Triple Oracle is absolutely trying to get Templar Archives around now and then pushing around 7 minutes or so as Charge finishes up. I mean, Charge is a bit later here, so maybe 7:30 or so. But hitting with like a few Immortals and Archons, and as the gateway count builds up, it's a possibility from ShoWTimE if he wants to get aggressive. It's just also tough when you haven't done initial damage with the Oracles, etc., because Reynor will just have more stuff ready to defend an attack like this.
Yeah, Reynor's +1 melee attack is lining up very well with when Lair finished here. So if you wanted to start +2 very soon, he could do that. Jumps on top of this army here of ShoWTimE, which, I mean, this is supposed to be a fake, but he kind of got caught for a second. He needs to save the sentries. He's still choosing to fight thanks to Guardian Shield. He's reinforcing that position. Immortal looked like he was going to be exposed for a second, but Reynor doesn't quite have enough to get the cleanup.
I mean, here comes the second Immortal, and a couple of cannons back at home from ShoWTimE. Again, as the Temple Archives finishes up, I think the main thing here is there's no Warp Prism, right? So without the Warp Prism, you can't realistically go much further across the map. And he is still just building Immortal after Immortal to make sure back at home he is...
Boss Archons, which... This is what you want to hit. This is the timing. Pre-Hive, you want to basically get as close as possible to maxing out as Protoss and then go for a timing. But now there's so much creep spread. It really feels like neither player will want to play very aggressive. For Reynor, it's very tricky, though, because he maxed out on, like, a Roachling Bane army, right? So his army, as time passes by, is going to get worse and worse, especially as ShoWTimE gets closer to maxing out.
Quite liked what Reynor did. He actually contaminated the Storm just before it was done, and he was, like, putting his army in the center when he set up that Balin drop and so on. he didn't see the opportunity to do anything, but if he had seen that opportunity, it would have been backed up by the later Storm of ShoWTimE thanks to that Contaminate. Another nice little move, but yeah, I think these are both players who are quite happy right now to just let this go later into the game. Reynor is going up in towards Broodlords, ShoWTimE is building his Fleet Beacon, so he's ready to take on the late game as well. And so from across the board, it just doesn't really look as though we're going anywhere. I mean, ShoWTimE starts up the Mother Chip, so it doesn't even really feel like he's going to hit much of a pre-Broodlord timing.
We could be in for a long game, actually.
Yeah, maybe the first of today, right? I feel we've had some good games today, but not really anything that's like scratched the 20-minute marker.
I feel like every time I say that, though, somebody attacks.
you say that, then all the High Templars get blown up by 2 Banelings. Time like tilt GG.
Then his army is like 1 mothership. Yeah. Here we go. Minus 400, 400.
Well, let's hope, because it is a really cool setup for the game right now, and it is, it's so Europe, actually, in terms of StarCraft, right? European players, they have this thing at the top level where they really do just get into these long games with each other way more often than not, like ShoWTimE Hero Marine in the group stage or the offline qualifier. Now we do see a few Banes here, not too much. I mean, ShoWTime's on the map, but again, he's only going to commit if he really sees an opportunity. But Reynor sees one because he's got a flank set up. Banelings from the bottom right to the right-hand side, the bottom left as well. Good storms across the board as ShoWTimE, though. How long can he put up against this army?
Yeah, the High Templars connected very nicely. There's still a bunch of Banelings here in the Stasis Trap that are going to get freed in a second, but ShoWTimE, I feel like maybe that went slightly better for him, but there's a better reinforcing capability for Reynor right now. Yeah. ShoWTime's supply actually plummeted. I thought he had more High Templars with energy left over, but he doesn't really. Banelings trying to connect on top of those High Templars. They're going to remove some of those, and Reynor is trying to swarm ShoWTiME right now. That Hive, he doesn't want to use it just yet. He thinks he can get the win right now.
Why take the Hive if you can just run across the map with all of these units? I mean, he took a good fight, and now he's capitalizing on that again. ShoWTiME was just missing the storm. He had no time to rebuild up. Not really enough splash damage. I mean, these extra few warp-ins are going to make it a bit close. He's keeping his Immortals alive, but that's about it for the moment.
He's so rich. He's just unable to spend his bank right now. Yep. ShoWTiME has so much minerals and gas. He probably doesn't have the gateways. He has only 10, and I guess he's producing a lot. But units are not coming out quickly enough here to defend convincingly in the first place. He's going to drop down additional ones, and now he's rebuilding his entire army. Reynor has so much gas to work with. Yeah. This is the dream at this stage, like when you're on 5 bases, just so that you can go into Broodlords, add a bunch of Infestors. We might just see like a ton of spores being dropped down as well in a second if he's worried about air.
Yeah, it feels as though he's kind of, I mean, he's morphing in more Banelings, but I'm not sure if he's really going to go again, because now he's backed off for a while. ShoWTiME's had a bit more time to get High Temple and start getting energy build up once more. There's a lot of Banelings to his right-hand side, a couple shield batteries, zealots, etc. Let's see what they can do. The Stalker is part of a wall off here, like a secondary wall, and it looks as though that's one final Bane. It's a good defense. Only 5 probes against that many Banes, and that's great for ShoWTiME, because that is, again, really sane to ShoWTiME as well. Reynor's like, if I'm given this many Banes to harass, I'm not about to hit you with a big army.
They both have a somewhat ideal economy, I would say, right? 81 drones against 75 probes. That's pretty good. But yeah, Neural Parasite now on the way for Reynor. And he already made Pathogen Glands. Banelings actually got caught on the other side of the map here. ShoWTiME's army feels like it's scarier for now, but it relies a lot on having enough High Templars to fight against those Zerg units, and anytime he steps on creep, he gets fully surrounded. So I really like what he's doing. He's going through that North Avenue here. We see Reynor trying to set up a flank from behind, but this could be a very bad fight for Reynor here, even though he's got some Broodlords in the mix.
Yeah, the Broodlord count isn't like super high, right?
Oh,
There's a few Stalkers. It looks like, especially because there's enough underneath. But at the same time, the Warp Prism on this left side of the map is getting damage done. ShoWTiME will recall a few units to protect his 5th base, and that is going to be the Mothership back there. But yeah, for the first time, Reynor's really taking damage and is a little slow to clean up some of ShoWTiME's harassment.
And this is typical Reynor, by the way. Those Ling run-bys, always in the one spot where you're the least defended, the least ready. Yeah. Some more probes just died for now for ShoWTiME. It's very annoying. He kind of has to replace them. And Reynor is dealing with this really well. He always has units in position. He's on the other side of the map. He did lose a couple drones, but like he can very easily replace them. He's already back to maxed out and still has so much gas to work with. Like he can just think about what's the perfect army he wants to assemble here and go for it.
No, these Banelings come crashing on in, and that is an entire mineral line, and Banelings to spare. At the same time, ShoWTiME's still fighting great storms across all the Zerg lanes, so suddenly maybe ShoWTiME has some potential, but the Broodlords are going to make this tough. ShoWTiME's going to get the base, and I kind of imagine this is where he backs away and just says, okay, I got a base at least, but I also need to rebuild my own work account.
And he already used the recall, so...
Yeah, he can go back really too easy. I mean, I kind of like this army staying here, though, right? Because the Broods don't want to go that far forwards, because that really pulls them out of position as well.
Yeah. I think Reynor might just attack, though, eventually. But I guess he has a bit of minerals to work with to start building some static defense, because then you're really worried about the counter-attack, right?
Yeah.
If you attack with the Broodlords.
Yeah, that Warp Prism was the one thing that finally started to deal some sort of damage here.
That army against no Tempest, like, this is looking very scary.
Yeah, ShoWTimE's just, it felt as though he was wanting to move into something more, but he's just not found that opportunity since this sort of started to build up. And right now, this base is less defended than it was before. He didn't rebuild that much off the earlier attack, so this is going to get hit. At the same time, ShoWTimE is actually coming forwards to take the fight here in the center. It's still just those Broodlords making life so difficult. He's going to blink for them, and this is the moment from ShoWTimE as he comes on forwards. He gets a couple Broods already. The Archon's trying to get underneath as a Time Warp is dropped, and finally some Storms starting to come through as well on top of those Ravages. And Lynx from the back will get Storm too. Yeah,
Time Warp is active, but Reynor is cleaning up right now. ShoWTimE's running out of units. Look at the supply. A massive lead for the Zerg player.
With money to spend as well, by the way. Reynor can re-max here almost. As ShoWTimE is finally like, oh yeah, I need Tempest. And it's just, I think it all comes back to that first fight with that big surround. ShoWTimE just lost a bit too much, and from there, he's never had the comfortable scenario to build up into that later game army, which he needed for this fight now.
Reynor has so much gas to work with. Like, this is what Zerg dreams are made of.
Yeah.
Like, his economy really wasn't disturbed that much. Like, ShoWTimE sniped the base at the top, but Reynor was already pretty much retaking another one. He shut down every single Warp Prism that was flying into his base to warp in Zealots. And from there, he's looking to be in a fantastic position here in what was a straight-up game, really. You know, they both went for their attack, went onto multiple bases. ShoWTimE started assembling his army, but it did feel like ShoWTimE has been very timid to transition into Tempest, and that the transition was just very late in general. Like, he just wanted to make stuff happen before that, but Reynor didn't allow for it to happen. And those Zergling counterattacks, they started adding up, as well as Baneling drops and run-bys.
It's kind of nice the way that Reynor did the build-up to Broodlords as well, because he didn't go like 10 Broodlords at once, right? He went 4 and then 4 more. And that really maybe scares ShoWTimE too, because at any point Reynor still has a mass of, you know, Bane Ravage, and if he attacks with that and you're building like 3 Tempests at a time, then it's not looking so great. So yeah, definitely has been a bit timid to move up, but maybe just because of the way that Reynor got.
Lynx are there. They do a ton of damage to buildings. He forces the recall again. He's just so good at it.
Now the Tempests are out though, right? It feels like Reynor's army is that little bit tougher to do something with, because the Broodlords are so much less scary. And obviously now he has to kind of build up that Corrupt account a bit to actually have a way to fight the Tempests back. So it does feel like ShoWTimE's got himself maybe into a bit of a better spot than he was a few moments ago. And as he backs away now, again, he did deny that base, and it is 5 against 5 bases right now.
And here comes the upgrades. Reynor is about to be 3-3-3-3.
That's true. For ShoWTimE just chilling out, no attack, only 1 attack upgrade on the air units, only 1 shield upgrade, and those are things which actually, in a later, longer game like this, really can start to make a difference.
Especially if, like, when he's doing warp-ins with Zealots and everything inside of the main base, having +3 armor would be amazing. Like, +2 air feels like something that already should be on the way, but because Reynor has been so proactive with the Zerglings and shut down so much of the economy, he finds himself in his position where, like, ShoWTimE is not where he would like to be at in terms of upgrades and just army and economy, everything really. And now Burrow being on the way, transitioning into Infestors. If ShoWTimE's not ready and doesn't have enough observers to deal with this could be a disaster.
It really could be, as right now the Tempests are getting caught by a few of these Corruptors which move forwards, and that's 2 Tempests already down. At least the Archons and Storms now showing up as well, and a few Corruptors go down. Now a big recall back to the right side as he realizes he needs more help defending this Roach Ravager attack. So ShoWTimE trying to be fancy in 2 locations, but overall it feels like he's the one that's hurting more from all of this.
Yeah, this was super cost effective for Reynor. He saw those Tempests kind of idle for a little bit.
I tell you what though, Reynor's work account's down though.
Resources lost. ShoWTimE actually lost a bunch more.
Yeah.
It feels kind of rare, right, for Protoss against Zerg at this stage?
It definitely is, right, because usually the Zerg is the one who's got like cheaper units that you use more of, and you meant to have the stronger economy, right, to rebuild, so it's definitely tough for ShoWTimE, and fights like this don't help. You lose 2 Archons right off the bat, Lings are still here to keep picking away at their space. ShoWTimE, he recalled over the right side. I think that was with the Mothership though, so I'm not sure what he can do to get back down the bottom.
He might have to go all in, like his economy just got wrecked. He lost his most important base, lost a bunch of probes there. And now it's like, what do? Do you just play slow, or do Do you let the Zerg just completely outproduce you, have way more bases? Archons now getting caught on this side of the map. These upgrades are paying off so much for Reynor.
And every single time one of these fights happen, Reynor just seems to have the slightly better amount of units, right? You know, it's never ShoWTimE who's just like, oh, I've got 2 extra Archons that you can deal with. It's always Reynor just able to clean up. And that's where that resource loss difference will be coming from. These little skirmishes around, and, you know, again, this big army from ShoWTimE probably doesn't know where to go for the best, and I feel like I get what you mean, right? Try and all in and do something. The one thing I'll say is that Reynor's worker count is still low, right? He is 53 drones, and that's not super crazy, so it's not like Reynor is mining so much more than ShoWTimE. It's just what's already happened that's making ShoWTimE's life so difficult as Lings strike once again.
These links are ridiculous. He's everywhere. In the meantime, Neural Parasite's gonna come into play. Infestors weren't burrowed for some reason. They're gonna get stormed on top of, but there's nothing to deal with the Brood Loss at this point. He lost all of his Tempets. And ShoWTimE is gonna tap out. Reynor with doing all the right transitions, making the right units at the right time, and he's so relentless with those links. Like, how do you deal with this? You can't afford to make like 10 cannons per base. You just can't.
On the plus side, I think the one thing this map is good for is to really shut down Lingbane run-bys, right? Because you can wall a certain way off this front natural to kind of just wall very early this ramp here. And then you move over to the 3rd base, and obviously you can wall a bit there. But in general, if your army's there, you move down to the 4th, and it's only really that one pathway to counterattack on. So that's maybe the benefit here from ShoWTimE, and maybe even Reynor plays a different style from being so Lingbane heavy, based on the fact that it might be a bit tougher to execute. As for the moment, ShoWTimE continues with the Stargate play over in the natural. It's going to be kind of tough for Reynor to figure out where he should send his Overlord to see that.
Yeah, I was very impressed as well last game with Reynor's initial defense. Like those Adepts and those Oracles were completely shut down for the most part. They barely got any drones, you know. Only when there was 3 Oracles could they finally fly in and do some damage, but after that, they got chased away. They were kind of like, you know, idle in the middle of the map, not doing too much. So that was really well played by Reynor. I feel like most Zergs, you know, they would have taken at least a little bit more damage, if not way more.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Like, his defense was, I think, the best I've ever seen against a 3 Oracle opening. It was absolutely on point. Stalker here early signifies probably the lack of a Phoenix, and that's what we kind of were expecting to see a little bit from the last game, that he then didn't actually do. As his first Oracle finishes up, I kind of get the feeling, because he's got the Stalker, he won't go Phoenix. He'll go 2nd Oracle at least, and I think, again, he will go 3 Oracles, and probably just into that Robo follow-up from there to try and get on the map, similar to the last game, right? Only maybe this time without the Adept pressure, so that he can just do things that little faster.
He's still hiding it here. This is a sick mind game.
Yeah.
Like, I thought for sure ShoWTimE was going to send that to the Overlord and kill it, but then that reveals to Reynor what he's doing. I wonder if he might just fly across the map with the 2nd Oracle and kind of let Reynor think that there might not be any Oracles, because we don't see any spores on the way right now. There's a chance Reynor reacts a little late here to these Oracles being produced. Right. Yeah, ShoWTimE's doing that. Yeah. He's flying across the map.
And he goes into Phoenix as well afterwards.
Oh my god.
It's a real mind game. It's definitely not the expectation of what's meant to happen.
And there was no Ling on the way either. Yeah. So there's still no spores on the way.
Yeah, this is really good for ShoWTimE. Great mind game that's absolutely looking as though it's going to pay off, heading down to the bottom of the map. And he will still go 3rd Oracle behind this as well. So he still will have 3 of those. Maybe 2 stay aggressive and 1 stays at home to defend the 3rd. As here we go, the 2 show up and they're going to dive on some drones. Only 1 Queen in the main base as well. And that's 4, 5, 6, 7 workers down and counting. And compare that to the first game.
Yeah, he's already lost way more.
Nothing.
That was amazing here by ShoWTimE. So smart to just hide that, let Reynor think that there is no Stargate play in the works. Even damaging that one Overlord, you know, the Overlord just couldn't fly in and confirm anything. I guess seeing a Stalker is somewhat of a tell that something could be happening, but Reynor took the risk, you know, he has like kind of like 1 chance out of 2, so to speak, that it could be a Stargate.
The Archons are there, they're going across the map, so ShoWTimE's going to counter while pretty much everything here from Reynor will continue to try and break on through. The Phoenix are getting caught as they pop out. He built a 2nd Stargate, so 2 Phoenix at a time. I mean, that's a 4th base that goes down, but I feel like you probably need the 3rd base here, because you're losing your own 3rd base at the same time as ShoWTimE. Reynor really doesn't have anything to go back home with, though, and a 2 base against 2 base scenario for ShoWTimE should be pretty good for him. He might even just dive straight towards the natural. It's a lot of Overlords.
Oh, the Mutas are coming back. And there is not that much anti-air there.
Yeah.
I don't think he has a Prism either, so... Oh, it's further away. He needed Stalkers in his composition. Guardian Shield is going to help, but... Oh, these Archons...
These Archons are strong enough, right? The middle is spread out pretty well, and while the Archons trade pretty well, the War Prism can only micro for so long before it is targeted. But here come the Phoenix! Maybe just a little bit too late because there's one Archon remaining. The Phoenix will pick up some kills, don't get me wrong. He's killed a lot of drones, but remember, he lost his entire third base at the same time, and this attack is still ongoing.
Yeah, the Expo here, the natural, not quite going to be breached here with the wall. One single Immortal is trying to escape right now, actually, from that attack.
Yeah, which, I mean, at this point, it kind of feels like you need anything you can take, right?
Oh no, Immortal.
Gets caught. ShoWTimE's work account isn't bad compared to Reynor's. It's just the lack of a third base to mine from really takes so much away from you. And especially because now the Mutalisks are still in pretty good numbers, you're going to be so afraid to move out anywhere again. You've got to fully rely on these Phoenix being able to clean up.
Reynor salvaged his position so well. I really like the bold move of saying, all right, this is not going the way I wanted. I'm just going to go for more Mutalisks and like just force a bad fight out of him. I'm surprised that ShoWTimE moved out to try and go for the attack. I guess he was just feeling safe at home, thought he could hold on against the Mutas with just his Phoenixes, but Reynor being able to start the base trade so much earlier definitely put him ahead. And he killed all of the probes inside of that third base. That wasn't evacuated by ShoWTimE at all.
I actually don't mind the idea of ShoWTimE pushing across the map if the counterattack of Reynor doesn't come in like it does.
Yeah.
But the counterattack coming in so quickly is exactly what you said, and it's exactly right, I think, because all of a sudden ShoWTimE's already warping in back at home, and then eventually the Mutas come back too, and there's just no warp-ins added to the original army. ShoWTimE going to go for one more attempt. He's pretty much all in here as he has sentries to defend the natural. Across the map, he pushes into the third base, but again, it's that Mutalisk count. At least the Phoenix count is good to try and fight this off.
Yeah, those Phoenixes are putting in work against those Mutas, but the Mutas are going to clear out the Archons on the ground. Now all he has to do is Skype with those Roaches to deal with the ground army of ShoWTimE, but the Phoenixes are still... I guess they will be able to pick up those Roaches. The Phoenix is really starting to turn the game around here for ShoWTimE. He's got to a point where he has so many of them.
Yeah, absolutely right. The Mutalisk count is pretty much gone, and now you are just kind of stuck on Roaches as Reynor, which... Okay, ShoWTimE doesn't have any Immortals, but what's to stop him building a couple of Immortals here and starting to set up into that spot, which would be so good for him. Catches these failings as well, that's really nice. And at this point with the Mutas farm, maybe you can just retake a third base.
Yes, 10 Phoenixes. And no upgrades for them, though. Roddy's somewhere watching this. He's like, where's the plus one?
You know what, you're so right. As we have the Hydras 10 about to finish. I do like that from Reynor, because I feel like what is there to defend Hydras in this army of ShoWTimE? Like, to an extent, Charged Out Immortal kind of just does the job, right? But at the same time, once there's so many Hydras, you really kind of need Storm, and that's not something ShoWTimE's ready to commit into. As the aggression here from Reynor, keeping up at the front, he's really just trying to scare ShoWTimE away from ever taking a third base.
Those Roaches are actually trading pretty well here.
Yeah, they are.
But they will get cleaned up eventually. Phoenixes need to move back into that position. ShoWTimE needs to retake the third base and then start harassing again with the Phoenixes, but Reynor is looking to transition into Hydralisks.
So the one good thing for this for Reynor is while he loses a lot, it bought him time where the Hydras are coming out, and the Phoenix aren't just there picking them up one or two at a time. So now he's got a lot of Hydras. The question is, does he get to that critical mass where they just kill things so much faster than they die? Because Hydras are really a glass cannon unit.
I mean, it's tricky too, because ShoWTimE can just kind of fly around, maybe fly into the main base of the natural where there is no Hydras, and then kill a bunch of drones. He sees that there were some Hydras kind of by themselves. So he's going to fly and kill a bunch of them, but loses some Phoenixes there.
Yeah,
and he's still moving out. Why is he moving out?
I don't know why you move out against the Hydras. I think there's just too many Hydras already there, right?
Yeah.
It feels really tough. Because ShoWTimE, if he's going to fight that, needs a big Zealot count, and he doesn't have a big Zealot count, and one Warp in is just not enough right now.
He's almost supply blocking Reynor here. Maybe a few more Overlords.
Yeah. I mean, these Phoenix have a lot of potential still, and it really scares Reynor from moving out as well. Because if ShoWTimE keeps the pressure up and Reynor moves out, he's going to kill all the drones and Reynor's all in. And while Reynor's got a good amount of Hydras, I'm not convinced it's enough to be happy being all in with. So, interesting thing has to be those Storms available, and I just don't see Reynor's army being big enough or good enough to realistically fight them.
Alright, no, at this point, this is pretty bad for Reynor. That ShoWTimE got to Storm that easily at this stage. He's going for 14 more links. And Reynor's getting ready to defend against the push. You see he's not going crazy on the drones. He's getting +2 melee. So I think the plan is just to start creep shredding for there and then kind of hope that ShoWTimE maybe goes for an attack a little too fast, overextends, and then he gets some big Baneling connections, cleans up, and somehow wins the game. But you can't really expect for ShoWTimE to make this kind of big mistakes.
Oh my god, those Lings. I love the preemptive force fields on the left as well, so they have no chance of getting away. The High Templar probably not meant to be that far out on the right side, but they helped to clean up the last couple. I mean, that's just painful as Reynor's the one who's getting aggressive again. He is building an infestation bit, so he's not like all in with this. There's a couple of Banes sneak by, and that is 5 probes. But that's only going to bring Reynor into a 4-worker lead, and again, his economy is just not really what he wants it to be.
Yeah, this is where, like, some of the very few Banes that Reynor has, actually, because his economy is not too great. He's very hydraulic heavy. He's got the class cannon army here that Storm loves to melt. How many High Templars do we have?
He does have a lot of gas as well, by the way. So he does maybe have a way to do something if he can just get minerals up, as this base is just gonna live. Meanwhile, 7 drones going down though, so it's still kind of bad for Reynor, right? Anytime he's losing economy here is really tough, as Phoenix finding a few overlords, and ShoWTimE has moved out into an aggressive spot now.
Yeah, he's at the edge of the crib. This is always when you need to consider like the possible engagements that Zerg is going to be trying to take. I haven't seen an observer here really, but he might just be confident to take the fight, land the perfect storms, and try and win the game right there and then.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with him moving forwards, but at the same time, the second you're on creep, that can be where everything falls apart, right? And you know, Reynor is so scary to play against with all of that run-by potential, the surround potential. He's so good at moving his army, and so ShoWTimE just backs off, probably just saying, you know, if I go up to 5 base and 5 base, again, if you're still just building Lingvei and Hydra, this is a better game for me the longer it goes until you get a solid transition on.
I'm surprised ShoWTimE hasn't rebuilt the wall off here around his natural base, because there's like this giant hole in it where like if Lings were to run by the side of the main base, that'd be pretty hard to defend. But I guess he would just rely on warpins. Looking to try and take a 5th base.
Yeah, just dropping this down. I mean, it's one of those stages where base number 5 kind of comes into play, and you know, because it is a long game, right, where you've been mining the main and natural all this time. The 3rd is pretty much mined out as well, so to kind of survive on 60-ish workers, you kind of need base number 5, which I guess you could argue is the one thing that's been good for Reynor, is that obviously ShoWTimE's been limited on mining because his other bases have been mining out. Unfortunately, that doesn't really take away from the fact that you're in the exact same scenario. It's not like he's had a 4th base while ShoWTimE hasn't, so
yeah,
it's still just feels a bit tough as he goes in towards Hive Tech, trying to find a way to fight the ShoWTimE army.
I think ShoWTimE might just do a pre-Hive timing with +3 attack upgrades and like very close to being maxed out. But he's probably very wary of those Lings. I mean, look, those Lings are somehow achieving stuff. Like, I don't know how he does it, but Reynor has such good map awareness, and every time there is anything out of position, even for 1 second, he's ready to catch it.
Yeah, he jumped on that right there, gets himself an Archon kill. That's exactly what you're looking for. Little bits and pieces like that, they drag Reynor back into this. Now, ShoWTimE, he's got to be considering a little bit of what he wants to do here, because he is starting to close in on being maxed out. Hive is also finishing as well. So you don't want to be too passive to let the Zerg just completely back into this, but again, you don't want to go fighting on creep either. It's a real tough scenario. It says, okay, Fleet Beacon, I'll get that up and keep teching here. This is a bit of a clash, a couple of storms dropping down. Looks like Reynor wants to fight with the concave, but I mean, ShoWTimE's not going to run up into a concave, is he?
Yeah, that would have been very bad. Actually,
maybe
he's moving back in there.
Yeah, but now the concave wasn't here right away, so he maybe felt there was a bit more opportunity.
I think it's still good enough against this army that ShoWTimE has here, because it's not everything that he's got.
And the storms are like in the back as well, so they can't come in to force the Hydras back and to give him more room to move up the ramp. Little Ling run by, not going to find anything. Couple Zealots too scary, even to snipe that Archon down.
I think if ShoWTimE realized how slow the tech into Hive was from Reynor, he might have just maxed out and tried to go for the fight. But instead, he's dropping down second Stargate Fleet Beacon on the other side. Reynor has so much gas. Like, he's finally spent a lot of it, but he's still got some left over. And I guess he's going to be taking the gases on his additional bases, so it looks like he might want to add some lurkers to his army.
ShoWTimE is kind of coming through here, and again, just can't really find a way to take advantage of what maybe is a better composition. And the other thing he wants to, he's building carriers, which is really a move which says, hey, I want to sit back and I'm just going to be happy on 5 base. I'm going to get an air army. And the next moment of this game that's going to be very important is when Reynor hits a lurker timing, essentially, because if these lurkers do nothing, then what preparation has he had to go up against carriers?
Yeah. I mean, ShoWTimE is... on the worker count is still doing great here. 61 to 49. Yeah. Like, this is...
fantastic.
Such a weird game, to be honest. Like, Reynor's just been getting ready for an attack that just hasn't been coming.
Yeah. And then he sets up for like the next attack, which also didn't come. And then it feels like now he's got the Lurker Den up. Is he going to use it? Well, there's going to be a surround. Is there a way for ShoWTimE to get out of here? Probably not. Drops all the storms he can as desperately as possible. He recalls a little bit of the army, but most of it goes down. A couple of Immortals are saved. Reynor picks off a lot. ShoWTimE had a lot at home, and that's why his army just wasn't even in the slightest chance going to hold that off.
Only one of those Immortals actually got out of it.
Yeah, I thought two did, but one died last second, huh?
And now Reynor's on the warpath. I mean, he's so low on the worker count, 47, that his maxed out army supply is 153 against the 100 of ShoWTimE. Sees that there is Delos doing a counterattack. This is not cost effective at all.
No.
Did Reynor find a way to win this game?
I actually think he maybe just did. I think ShoWTimE was a bit too aggressive with half his army. He got surrounded. He didn't expect that from Reynor, and now Lurkers are here too. And it's just before these carriers get into that count, which makes them so very good. You know, 1 or 2 carriers is nothing against these Hydras.
Yeah.
Up to 6 or 7, they're going to be
terrible
fantastic.
against what Reynor has.
Yeah, exactly. They'd be great like 2 or 3 minutes from now, and ShoWTimE absolutely believed he had that amount of time. But after losing so much of his army, he doesn't. So now here we go. Reynor sieging up those Lurkers. I mean, he's got an attack on the right side as well, and ShoWTimE just feels like he's kind of guessing where he should go for the best.
So Seismic Spines finally finished, meaning that these Lurkers, they teleport on the ground, they got blink.
Yeah, it's pretty good, those Lurkers, getting that range as well, as the Hydra's going to be up to the top side, able to pick their way through the Nexus here. The extra Lurkers still just slowly pushing in. So ShoWTimE in the last couple of minutes lost half his army, his 4th and 5th base, and now has his 3rd base sieged by Lurkers. This went so wrong so quickly. And
that top left base is about to be scouted here, which is a disaster.
Yeah, I mean, Reynor's just, he knows what the attempt is here. A couple of good storms to start this off, but the thing is, even if ShoWTimE cleans this up and forces Reynor to back away, Reynor's now backing away into a fantastic position, 5 base against 3.
Carriers actually went too far forward here, and ShoWTime's just gonna tap out here. Reynor,
GG.
47 drones is all you need.
Apparently so. What a game. Like I said, I think ShoWTimE was in a very good position after a certain point for a long time, but he was just a bit too aggressive trying to keep Reynor down.
You see the face he made?
I did not.
Not bad face.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad at all. I really thought this was going to a game 3, but it will not. And Reynor looking pretty happy there as he comes out. First victory in Group B. Might be the first victory on his run to a good playoff run, maybe a championship here. We know he's one of the best. And ShoWTimE, like I say, he really showed up though. I mean, it's promising considering he's got 3 other Zergs in his